Did we do it?
I think so.
We did
We're live. All right. I am so excited tonight. One, me and Casey are together on the same square tonight. And for anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Brittany Brainstorm. I am the creative director for the Brainstorm Boutique Creative Agency. And my sister Casey is a very talented designer and a social media performance coach. She has lots of experience and training in the improv space. But tonight, it's not about us. We have, oh my gosh, okay. So excited. I'm like so excited. I have one of my favorite financial influencers from Instagram on with us tonight, Jules Costa. And did I pronounce that right, Jules?
That is correct. Yep.
Okay, awesome. So Jules, I can't even explain all the things you are. So I'm going to let you take over and introduce yourself tonight.
Thank you so much, Brittany. I'm so excited to be here. So like you said, I'm Jules. I'm on Instagram as a financial influencer and money expert. I have my own business as a copywriter. And I would say those are kind of my two things. I think of myself as a strategist, as a content strategist primarily, and also as an educator.
Yes, you are all those things. So actually, I'm going to give a short backstory. One of the actually, give me a second. I'm making sure that this is public on my Facebook. So people, if they leave a comment, it will show up.
Okay.
Okay. So anyways, I came across Jules on Instagram. There was another financial freedom account that I follow who shared her in his story. And I was just blown away by all the awesome information you were sharing. And I was like, I need to hop over and be checking this girl out. So I did. And then you and I have just, kind of connected and became friends after that. And, we seem to always overlap in similar groups or interests.
Yep.
And so I think the message that you share is so important. And that's why I just told Casey, well, we have to have Jules on our live stream. So talk about all these things. There's so much I want to talk to you about. So I'm going to have to rein myself in and just kind of go down the line. But I think the most important thing I want to talk about is your freelancing journey.
Yeah.
A lot of people have very different work history backgrounds. And I love that you have started as a freelancer and you've grown in your own business that way. So I'm going to let you kind of talk about that journey for yourself.
Yeah, it happened so much by accident, if I'm being completely honest. I graduated college. I was kind of burnt out and decided that I was going to go backpacking for a while. And the plan was to go backpacking for 6 months. I didn't have like a ton of money in my bank account. So I was like 6 months in Brazil, which is where my family's originally from.
Nice.
Yeah. And did work away, which is kind of like woofing, if you've heard of that, where you trade labor, you help a hostel out and then they give you a bed and breakfast.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So did a lot of frugal travel. And then the 6 month mark hit and I was like, wait, I'm still actually not ready. And so that was kind of the beginning of this freelance journey, was knowing that I didn't want what I saw other people doing, which was kind of going into debt in order to have a job, because they were like, well, I need a car and I need an apartment and I need this and I need that. And I was like, oh, I just don't want to enter that rat race. And so I just kept traveling. And as I kept traveling, obviously I needed to find a way to make money. And so my very, very first kind of exploration was as a growth strategist / journalist. I was an English teacher for a while. There's a lot of different things that I did in order to kind of make ends meet. But I fell in love with this kind of growth strategy, journalism, content creation side of things, and eventually became a business owner.
Nice.
That is awesome. Okay. First of all, okay, we have a comment. I have to bring Demi Drew says, "Hi ladies." Hey Demi.
The loveliest.
She's wonderful. Thank you for joining us tonight and watching. I love Demi. I met her through you actually. So
I adore her.
she's a social media manager, and she is so talented in growing her business. And we're gonna have to have Demi on the show one of these nights. She's fantastic. Okay, Demi, thank you. Leave comments throughout the night if you have any questions for Jules while she's live. But Jules, one of the things that I really love is how you really thought through what you were going to do. A lot of people, myself included, didn't take time to pause and make those kinds of choices.
Mm-hmm.
So not only did you make choices that were brilliant for your finances, you gave yourself freedom to have an adventure.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Well, I don't want to make the picture too rosy.
Okay.
I think I knew very clearly what I didn't want.
Okay.
And because I knew what I didn't want, I gave myself the space to start looking at, well, what would actually work. But there were a lot of ups and downs. Like I said, I taught English for a while just to kind of like keep things going. I was an au pair. I tried to be a social media manager. I did all of this stuff. And so, I do think it's important to explore and give yourself that room. Mm-hmm. But you're right in that I knew that the kind of traditional job thing was not going to happen for me. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. And actually, Demi left another comment, so we have to bring it up. She says, "My love language is words of affirmation. So you're feeling like them." Yes. We love the Phil Cups around here.
Yeah. Always positive.
Love that, Demi. So, okay. With, and I'm probably not going to pronounce it right. Did you call it an au pair or?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay.
What is that like? Because I've heard about that and I've read a little bit about that, but what was that like for you?
Yeah, fun fact, Demi was also an au pair. Yeah. But what was it like for me? I went to Germany and I took care of like a little girl. She was 5 years old. She was so cute. At the time, I was thinking about going to law school. And so I like lived with 2 lawyers and I got to like find out a lot about what that was like behind the scenes. And actually, the dad of the family, he had started his own law firm and it was completely remote. So he was based in Germany. He had 2 partners in Denmark, and then a lot of their clients were actually in the US at different locations. Yeah. And so that was like my first, like, oh, entrepreneurship is a thing, because my family is extremely traditional. Like, my dad was a consultant and my mom was a nurse. And so they kind of had this, like, you can be a doctor or you can be a lawyer or you can be, something else, but it has to be that kind of traditional path.
Yeah.
And going to Germany was the first moment that I saw somebody build their own thing. And that was really interesting to me. And being an au pair, your kid, the kid was at school for a long time during the day. And so that gave me time to start exploring online and figuring out like what kind of services I could offer. So that was really cool.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
How cool. So, whenever you were doing that, when you were exploring, options out there, what made you decide to take the leap into your own business? Like, I know you said that you knew you weren't going to do the traditional route, but what was it that made you go, oh, this is what I'm doing, or this is like the launch into the digital nomad online space for you?
Yeah. I think that, so I like, it was one of those things, right, where it's like, you're looking for what fits, and it's this process of, okay, I can teach English online. Great. I have the online aspect. And so I have the flexibility, but then I didn't really like that I couldn't control my own rates. I didn't really like that, they kind of like it was this platform where they would pair you up with students. And so I had no idea who my students were, and I couldn't really form a relationship with them and all this stuff. So it was kind of just, it's almost like a ladder, right? Where it's like, okay, the first step is that flexibility and the ability to travel. Cool, I have that. Okay, what's the next rung of the ladder? Okay, I want to be able to choose who I interact with. And again, like, I don't want to paint this picture as if it was like super linear and like, oh my gosh, I just knew that I wanted to be a content strategist. Like, I tried to be just like an independent English teacher. I tried to, again, be like so many different things, so many different goals, all of that. But eventually landed on what I was good at, which was writing and content strategy. And that, like, what made it feel possible for me was meeting my mentor. And she was a copywriter, and she like subcontracted me for work. And I think it's so, like, honestly, a little bit sad. Like, it's always surprising to me when I say like, oh, I met my mentor and she taught me kind of everything that she knew. And people are like, well, so how much did you pay her? Right? Like, that's always the first question. And I'm like, no. Like, she paid me. Like, she took me under her wing. She absolutely did not have to, but I bugged her for like, like 8 months, I think, like from when we first met to when she actually started like subcontracting me and like taking me seriously. I think it was 8 months of me just being like, hi, like, I'm still here. Like, if you have any work, let me know. Would love to learn from you. Like,
wow. I love that so much.
Yeah.
Okay,
so
real
the
quick,
networking.
we have a comment here. And okay, Josh Benson, he says, I love how your journey led to knowing what you did and didn't want in your life, and you aspired to it from there. First off, Josh, I've not met him yet, and I really want to. He is over the Cultural Civic Center in my community, and cool. A very talented artist. He's been transforming our downtown with mural painting. So Josh, thank you so much for watching tonight. That means so much. But I absolutely agree with him. I love, Jules, how you see where you want to go and you make it happen for yourself. And obviously what you were saying about the networking and reaching out to the mentor, a lot of people don't have the courage to do that. You know, my phrase for this year is I have the audacity, and I'm like, I love it. I'm like, and Jules has the audacity. And I love that about you so much. So when you kept being proactive with that relationship with her, what was it like when she finally said, you know what, hey, I do have something for you? What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was so fun, right? Like, it was nerve-wracking because I was like, so like I tried like Upwork, and I tried just like cold pitching people and all of this stuff. And then, you know, she reached out and she was like, hey, I have this job for you. And it was like, ooh, like, this is my moment. But it was so funny because I got on the call with her, and she was like, okay, like, you told me that your rate was X. Is that still accurate? And just like on a whim, I raised my rate by like $5. I was like, no, it's actually this now. And then I was so nervous. I was like squeaking. I was like, it's actually this. Is that okay? And she goes, yeah, of course, raise your rates. and like, that was the moment I think that everything started clicking for me, where I was like, ooh, this is going to work.
Wow.
Pretty cool.
Okay. So we need to go into the raise your rates part. There's so much we need to go into. But with that relationship with her and everything that you learned, I assume you became even more confident each time you got a new opportunity to up that price, because you're learning, you're gaining experience, you're gaining the skill set, right? Yeah. And then the ability to actually execute what you say you're going to do. First of all, I do want to ask, what drew you to this particular mentor?
She was honestly so open, and so it, like, in all of her emails, she would always end saying like, hey, like, reach out. You know, she'd be like, sorry, no work right now, but reach out again, you know, in a few months. Like she was like about to have a kid. So she was like, hey, like maybe when I have my kid, I'm going to have more work that you could take on. Hey, maybe this time, that time, whatever. And she was just so, yeah, like open and willing to kind of form that connection. And I just took her up on her offer, to be honest. Like, like the power of following up and the power of just like believing people when they say they want to help you or they say like reach back out or whatever, I think is incredible. Like sometimes that's all that's needed is you following up on an offer that someone gave you, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. Because I think there can be times when people doubt the sincerity, and so therefore they don't do that, or they worry about looking as desperate or that. But in reality, I want to believe the majority of people want to help other people get to a specific level in life, and shame on them if they don't, but I really believe majority do.
100%.
And how, like, I hope one day that I can be considered a mentor for somebody. And Jules, I know you already can consider yourself that for lots of people. So the power of mentorship is so important. And that's what, plug, you have a podcast, right? That's about that.
I do have yes, I do have a podcast. It's a little bit on the back burner, but that's one of my accountability buddies is like she's just messaging me every day like, hey, work on your podcast. So yes, I do have a podcast that's specifically about mentorship and mentor stories, and I'm always looking to interview more people about their mentorship stories. Do you have a mentor or do you have a mentorship story, either you or Casey?
You know, honestly, I do, especially in like the Second City space. I'm able to get like a lot of incredible mentors that like completely irreplaceable, like just absolutely incredible people, especially in the acting program.
Yeah.
They had that kind of like what I would like to call boundaried friendliness. That you knew that it was like, if I do these things, then they'll be open to like helping me. Yes. So I knew that no one was giving too much. So they made me feel comfortable, which I think is really important for mentors to really stress is like, these are the terms. And if you meet those, I'm going to be the most open best friend you'll ever have. But anyway, there's one in particular. He was like my acting one teacher. And I really like kind of treated it like a blow-off class. It was kind of like, you kind of had like in the acting program, because there were some people who were on a track like me. I was like on a track to do like the bigger things at Second City. And that class I literally just had to have to fill a requirement. But that instructor just really liked me. Like, and every time in class, he would always use me as an example. He'd always be like, Casey, act this scene out with me. Casey, do this. Casey, do that. And he always saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And there was a moment that like I had to like speed memorize this thing, and we had to do like a real audition, and it was really, really high pressured stuff because it was in front of people and it was like nuts. But anyway, then at the end I was like, I think I like acting. Like, it turns out I really, really like this. And I wound up writing him, and I was like, hey, so I need a little bit more help on this monologue, clearly. Like, hey, can you offer me like more playwrights to go off of and everything? And he was so kind and just immediately just like, yes, Casey, like I wanted you to like this and not be such a jock about it. And yeah, he's just been a really, really good person in my life. Just like, but in that way that it is that boundaried friendliness. Like I don't want to go eat dinner with him, but like, yeah, whenever he thinks of a playwright that he wants to shoot me, he does, you know?
Yeah. Well, and I really like your point about like, you have to show that enthusiasm and you have to show that preparedness in order for the mentorship relationship to actually work.
Right.
And like Brittany, to your point, like, it's very like sometimes I hear about stories where like mentors reach out to mentees, but like generally it's the other way around. And so the mentee really has to bite the bullet and be like, I want you as a mentor.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It's so true. But you know, a mentor can just really change the trajectory of someone's life, and they can put perspective on a lot of people. And, you know, I think it's an honor to get to do something like that for someone. And, you know, I just look forward to the day where I can like look back and be like, wow, I really was able to make a difference in someone's life. And I love that someone did that for you, Jules. And, you know, I definitely have my mentors, and, you know, I wouldn't be the person I am today without them. And they're all in different phases of life, right?
Yeah. And like mentors, right? Like really important to also recognize that. My first mentor, the mentor I was talking about, her name's Brooke Adams Law. She's a writing coach. She's fantastic. So cool. But I also think it's important to recognize, like, you know, that relationship was really, really important at the beginning of my career. And then I started to get more into like tech, and I started to get into more like strategy versus just writing. And then like other mentors became more important like later on in my career. And so like having multiple mentors, I think is also a really good point that you made there.
Yeah. Well, and they all bring something so different. So anyone who's watching right now who has the ability to mentor someone, do it. And anyone who is seeking a mentor, just ask people. I mean,
reach out in the comments right now. Just like looking for this.
Yeah, tell us what kind of mentor you're looking for. You never know who's out there and who's watching or who's listening or who knows someone, right, who can connect you. So that's kind of going to be a segue to the next topic, is networking. Because Jules, I know you do a lot of networking, a lot in the digital space. You know, some people do more in-person networking. But then the pandemic has shown all of us that for anyone who's doing in-person networking, there's a whole world out there, right, of online networking. So I'll let you talk about that.
Oh my gosh. In the weirdest way, the pandemic was probably the best thing for my networking. Like, obviously terrible for so many other things, but for networking, it was always a little bit complicated for me as a digital nomad, because I was switching places sometimes as often as every week, right? And so so there wasn't a lot of room for me to plan for like, oh, this event, or let me follow up with this person and grab a coffee with them, right? And so when everything moved to the digital space, it just became so much more normal to like hop on a Zoom call. Before this, like people, like there were people who did not know what Zoom was, right? And now all of a sudden, it just kind of became normal to grab a virtual coffee. And I definitely, I took advantage of it, right? I joined a lot of virtual communities. Two of my favorites, Rev Genius, which is for sales and marketing, and then Thursday Night Sales, which is more of like a sales group, both free, both just kind of meet up every week and have like a little Slack channel associated with them. And and just meeting people in that space and seeing what projects they were working on opened my eyes to so many things I didn't even know were out there.
That's awesome.
That's amazing. Has there been anyone, you don't have to say specific names or anything, but have there been specific people in there that you've met that you've been able to carry on friendships or connections outside of there?
Yeah, I'm laughing because there's these two guys who we just like work out together. Like one of them posted on the Slack group, and he was like, hey, like I don't know what he had done. He had like torn his ACL or something. And he was like, I need to get back into like a workout, what is it called? Like physical therapy routine.
Yeah.
And the three of us like just have been like exercising together 2 or 3 times a week for the last 9 months. And it's so fun.
Over Zoom or like in person?
Over Zoom.
So
Yeah. One of them is in Canada. One of them is in California. And like half the time we're like eating lunch. Like half the time we're not even exercising. But you know, some of the toughest moments that I had, both personally and in my business, I was able to like talk it out with these guys who have like 15 years of experience, right? They're 15 years ahead of me.
That's
yeah. And it was just like really awesome. It still is really awesome.
I love that. That's, you know, the power of networking.
The internet, though, you know, like
all of it.
The internet, like our parents didn't have this.
Not in the wildest dreams.
I literally watched Star Trek with this artist in Nashville, and we just both really, really love Star Trek. So it's like, I will literally, it like could be any time of the day, and he'll text me, he'll be like, Trek? And I'll be like, yeah, 1 sec. And I will run to my Netflix, and then we'll go 1, 2, 3, and then start at the same time. Watch like whatever episode we want. I mean, I have done it. We have watched Star Trek together for like, I don't know how many hours. Like it's insane. And it never, you could never do that. You'd be like, oh man, that person's in Nashville. Whoops, never gonna see them. Like whatever. Like I'll just like download it from Map Blast and like drive over there like 3 hours. How instant it is.
It
is. Yeah.
It's,
and I think that it's also really awesome that it just makes it everything so much more human, right? Like you're talking about Star Trek, I'm talking about like exercising, and it's like I like some of these like professional and personal boundaries can have kind of like merged a little bit, which sometimes can be overwhelming. But I think on the other side, it's like, I don't know. I used to think of networking as being very stuffy, right? And especially like in conferences, everyone's wearing their like suits, you're in heels, you're eating like a million bagels for some reason. And like, it's like a little uncomfortable versus online networking where it's literally, you're just in the comfort of your own home. Like you can choose the activity and be like, this is the thing that we're going to connect over. And I think it's amazing.
Yeah. It really is. Actually, this is kind of my random networking thing. I do these free content calendars that I put together every month, and I just have fun doing that. And, you know, I've done that professionally, you know, for other positions for a very long time. So I do it for fun, and then I will run, you know, a Facebook, Instagram ad and put just a little bit of money behind it to hopefully pick up some new people on my email list. And I got this email from this from a really wonderful girl named Amanda, and she's you know, I was like, hey, I got this, and she's like, I'd love to learn more about you and what you do. And you know, I talked to her about, you know, I do my Brainstorm intensives, and then you know, branding and web design. And so then she's like, oh, I actually really need a Brainstorm intensive. I'm like, oh my gosh. So, you know, I booked her for that, and then like we just started talking, and we just had so much in common. Like it was wild, like how so much was aligned for us. And so now once a month we'll do a co-working session where we just set up our FaceTime and we work.
Yes.
And we just chat right with each other. And it's so much fun because it was a Facebook ad, right? That brought her in my life. A nutrition coach. And so now we just decided that we just use, you know, each other's services, and it's been absolutely amazing. Oh, we just got another comment. So Christy Saylor, she says, networking is my favorite. No stuffy heels here, but I will take the bagels. I agree. Christy is local to me. Actually, she is a very talented social media manager. So thank you for watching, Christy. And if you have any question for Jules throughout the, we'll get talking about other things pretty soon. Make sure you leave a comment for her. But all that to say, like, it's just crazy how you just never know where your next friendship is going to come from, you know? And, you know, you and I, we don't get to talk a lot throughout the day or anything like that, but we definitely encourage each other, you know, through our social media and things like that, through Instagram DMs and whatnot. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like, I don't have to have, you know, full on, I'm really thankful we're having this conversation tonight, but you know, I don't have to have a full on conversation to know that I can like be like, wow, that's amazing. Congrats on your success in that. And, you know, people, if they just really realized how much those encouraging words to each other go a long way.
It means so much.
And it means so much. It costs nothing. To tell somebody something's nice is free. You don't have to pay to go to a conference. You don't have to pay for your cute, like pencil skirt. You literally, it is free to love, react a selfie, honey. Do it.
Yes. Community, community makes or breaks an entrepreneur. I think so.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, because it can get so lonely. Like I think that's why I'm so obsessed with forming communities and like having accountability pods and reaching out to people and like doing the whole Instagram thing. Like Instagram for me is not like, it's not like this big money maker, like cash cow, like that, like that's not what Instagram is for me, or Facebook. Like, it's just like, let me connect with people. like let me feel like a person and be able to speak the same language, because at least in my life, like there's very few people who are entrepreneurs. Like, if I try to talk to them about like business stuff, they're like, okay, I don't know, seems sketchy. Like my family still thinks I just like sell Bitcoin. Like they really believe, they're just like, oh, she's just online all the time doing that crypto stuff. I'm like, that's crypto stuff. Yeah. Like I'm like, that's yeah, very little to do with what I do. So like having like these like business besties, right? I have, if you know Jasmine at all, she's an Instagrammer that's, I love her, but she calls them like business besties. Like you have to have a business bestie you can like have fun with and laugh with and then cry with and like talk about crazy situations with. Like so important.
So important. Oh, speaking of community, we have Demi on here. She's saying community is so important. I'm so passionate about forming genuine connections and friendships on social media. They've taken me so far. Yes. And that's so true.
Yes.
Demi and I, we show up in each other's DMs quite a bit throughout the week. So I love Demi and I love her stories and all of the adventures she's on. Oh my gosh, she's living the high life right now in Miami.
She really is.
I'm loving
her memes are always on point. I'm like, every time I see a meme, I'm like, yes.
Yes. And she posted a selfie the other day. I was like, Demi, I don't know where you're going, but you're looking good, girl. Miami looks good on her. But yeah, see, that's the thing is like, I've always had a lot more in-person relationships and friendships than online. And as I grew my business, my first 3 clients weren't even from my community, right? They were one was in Brooklyn, New York, and one was in Arizona, and one was in Texas. No personal connection. And that blew my mind. Like I seriously thought it would take me years to get someone beyond my community. And right away.
Yep.
Right away.
How cool is it? Because depending on where you live too, like, I live in Richmond, Virginia, which is it's a decent sized place, but what are the odds that I'm going to find somebody that has the exact same interests as me in Richmond, Virginia? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, they're out there, but blah, blah, blah. It takes time versus the internet where it's like, I feel like I log on and there's just thousands of people who I could connect with on a really deep level at any moment. And yeah, it's incredible.
I love those algorithms. Give me more. Come on, Zach. Bump them up.
Actually,
I love them. I love like being able to just be like, I'm thinking about basketball. And then somebody be like, literally like, I kind of want to go to the basketball court today. And you'd be like, oh, wow, me too.
Yes.
It's just like
that together.
I know, I understand how it could be scary, but I'm honestly like living my best life. Like I'm living my best little algorithm digital life. I got my little vaccine card and we're living. Like I love it.
Well, the people you interact with, right, on Instagram, they're just going to show you more people who are like that. And maybe it makes your world small, but it's only made my world bigger.
Did you ever hear about how, and I don't know if it's still this way, but there was like a minute when Instagram would find out who else was on the same Wi-Fi as you and then would like connect you to. So like, have you ever been in a coffee shop and then like left the coffee shop and been like, oh my God, that like guy or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh.
Mhm.
And then like somehow they like pop up in your people you may know.
That's
It's because
crazy.
they would connect you through the Wi-Fi's.
Actually, that's kind of interesting because there have been times that people, yes, actually, yes.
Yeah,
now that I think about it,
when I was in Chicago, it would happen constantly.
Oh my
like,
gosh.
People that I would like not know from Adam. But I would like, you know, like we would like make eye contact or something and be like, oh wow, orange hair, you're cool. And then like walk out and it would be like that would be their profile picture and I'd be like, I'm following you, honey. Like,
That's amazing.
That is. Oh, we got a comment here. Melanie Bickett, full disclosure, that's our mom.
Oh,
many of my best friends are online, plus met my husband online. Totally true. Match.com, match made in heaven. Love online networking for work, friendships, and okay. My mom's the OG of the online network.
She will post a selfie and it will literally all be love reacts. Like this is the kind of life she's living.
Yes.
She has like the most natural cheerleaders that all just want mom living her best life, and it's very amazing.
Oh, I'm here for it.
Okay, let's also acknowledge the fact that mom was in Yahoo groups like 15 years ago. She
way back when.
She has
MSN Buddy.
Mom had, she had a group of like gardening women she met on there, and they literally would fly from around the country to get together for like a girls' weekend. So, Mom, I am sorry, I did not give you credit for this whole lifestyle because she's Mom, the OG of it.
She got us on the net. She got. You know what my mom did?
What?
So whenever I was like 9 years old, my mom printed out the Neopets permission form and faxed it into them so I could be Kevin. I could have that super cute, like wolf, weird named Pokemon-esque dog.
I forgot all about that.
They are bloated.
I love Neopets. I was obsessed with Neopets.
She did, and they literally, it had to be a signed permission slip, and she signed it for me. She dated it. She was like, my daughter is getting online. so she
Mom,
will love it.
Mom says I still have besties from Yahoo groups. She does. I love this. Mom, thank you for commenting. That made my night. Yes, we give you credit for probably starting the whole online networking anything lifestyle.
Yes.
But so from the online networking and all of that, Jules, one of the biggest things that you talk about is raising your rates. And we touched on it a little bit. So throughout your whole journey, what made you go, I need to be consistently increasing my rates? Yeah. Like, what was the math? What was the moment? Like, tell us. I want all of it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So when I first started online, like the advice was like, go to Upwork, right? Like that was kind of the baseline advice that everyone was giving. And I went to Upwork and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'll just like price myself super low so that somebody hires me and then I'll increase my prices later was my thinking, which I think is, you know, pretty logical and pretty typical thinking.
Yeah.
And I got burnt out like my first job, right? Because I was charging like charging $10 an hour, but I was working like 3 hours for every hour I said I was going to work. And so I just wasn't making enough money to survive. And I was really like pulling through and it was just kind of bad. So the very first time I raised my rates was that time that I told you with my first mentor, Brooke.
Yeah.
And when I really started realizing like, ooh, like this math isn't going to work out unless I increase my rates. I was like, I had a pretty consistent flow of clients. Like everything was working out and I could see like, oh, I'm actually putting good work out there. I'm actually doing really well. But I was still living paycheck to paycheck. You know, I was still like worrying about rent. I was still on PayPal, right? Like at the end of the month, like, oh, I hope that so-and-so pays their invoice, right? Like stress, it was stressing me out. And eventually I had to like sit down with myself and be like, what's the point of living this like flexible, nomadic, whatever life if you're going to be worried about money every single step of the way? And then I really committed to what I would call my Netflix number. So there's 3 numbers that I tell everyone to know. One is like, what is your ramen noodle number? Like, what is that number that like you're kind of scraping by, but at least you can pay your rent? Yes. What is that number? What's the Netflix number of like, oh, I can afford these like little luxuries that make life kind of worth living, like Netflix or like Uber Eats, whatever your your poison is. And then what's your luxury number? Like, what is that number that is going to propel you into the lifestyle that you dream of, right? Or your bigger, broader goals. And so I really like committed to my Netflix number. I was like, I'm going to do my Netflix number. And then once you get to your Netflix number, you're like, wait a second, I could just keep doing this. And it becomes second nature to just push yourself a little bit higher and, get more and more audacious. You're saying, Brittany, like you get the audacity and you're like, okay, like, why can't I ask for double this? Right. So
why not?
Yeah. Why not?
That is that's a really good way to put it. I like it. Ramen noodle number, Netflix number, luxury number. I like that a lot.
That's so relatable. Oh, we got a comment here. Christy, she goes, raising rates, so nerve-wracking. Thankfully, I have an excellent network of female business owners to help push me. Brittany, that's true. Raised rates on a quote yesterday, and they accepted that. Yes, Christy. Congrats on that.
Celebrate hard.
Celebrate. Have some ramen noodles.
But not to where you're in your ramen noodle. No, not that hard.
You don't want to go down to your ramen noodle way, but I'm so proud of Christy. Absolutely. Like, one of the things is, so for those of us that have worked in the full-time, the job space or whatever, you get them out. Like, that's your salary, that's your hourly pay, what have you. Christy says, thanks, ladies, Netflix and ramen. Love it. Other people decide for you, right? What that number is for you.
Yeah.
And, I live in, a kind of a more rural area, and you can definitely see like the differences in pay, and there seems to be like kind of a common amount that's expected. And, it is what it is. But because of that, the idea that you can ask for more, it's such a mindset thing.
It's like cultural mindset almost,
it really is.
For communities, it's like you have like the business owners that's like the man that like shakes the hands and wears the clean stuff. And then everybody else is supposed to be like exploited in order for him to always be the one in the suit, shaking the hands and having all the clean stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to know my true opinion.
We going again.
You got me on my Netflix number now.
Girl's headed to luxury. She's gonna quit working for me. No.
I would never.
She's gonna start a revolution over here. I'm trying. I love that. It's so funny. Oh my gosh. Anyone who's watching, I have no idea what's gonna be said, but we're gonna have fun is all I'm gonna say. And it's gonna be truth, okay? Speaking truth. That yes, I definitely see that. Like when you are working so much and you can't afford gas, but that person can buy a new car, right? Like there's a problem.
Yeah.
There is a problem.
Yeah.
It should be so like Brittany had brought up this point, and I can't remember when you brought this up, but you should be embarrassed to think that all of your employees come up with wrinkly t-shirts on, exhausted, and you lack the self-awareness. That should be embarrassing. You should be embarrassed. Shame on you. If you're watching Mr. Clean Suit, shame on you.
Give your employees a raise, please. Just do
Yes.
it.
And empower them to do so if they don't know how. Like, take them to workshops, give them the classes in order to get to the level of training you want them to be, in order to advance, because they've been there for a while and they've worked hard for you.
It's so true. It's definitely it's a mindset thing for yourself when you're working for yourself, right? Because there's a lot of layers. I tell a lot of people, I do a lot of pricing coaching actually in my Brainstorm intensives, and it's like pricing is personal. There's so many layers for you.
Thank you.
You have to navigate that. So, okay, tell us about that for yourself. Like, now it's up to you how much you want to share. We obviously just shared a lot, but what did those layers look like for you, and how did you overcome them?
Like the emotional layers of raising your rates. Well, I mean, I think you have you both make great points, which is that we are in the system where other people are determining our rates for us, and we kind of get used to whatever rate they give us, right? And so, one of my first jobs was at a restaurant, and I was making $10 an hour. And I thought that was amazing because everyone else was making $7 an hour. And I was like, wow, I'm rich, right? And not thinking about, what the business owner was making. Like, that was the last thing on my mind. I was just like, $10, great. And then you start your own business and you're like, I don't know, I guess I should just pay myself what everyone else has been paying me, which is $10. And you don't consider there's no guaranteed hours in entrepreneurship, right? Like you can do things to stabilize your income. You can work on retainer and you can, have great contracts and blah, 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 but there's no real guarantees there. And 40 hours of entrepreneurship usually isn't 40 paid hours. It's not 40 hours of actual cold hard cash, paid work. It's, it's maybe 15, 20 hours of paid work. And then the rest of that goes to admin. It goes to sales calls. It goes to just all of the other things that you have to do as a business owner, not to mention taxes, which that could be a whole nother hour. And I'm sure you'll have people on if you haven't had them already.
Part two, Jules.
Well, I'm not a CPA, but right? The taxes. Kayla should come on here because she
Kayla part 3.
Kayla part 3.
Yeah, you've already had it. So but anyway, the point is that there's so many other considerations that you have to think of as a business owner. Not to mention that this is your thing, right? If it's your thing, your business should work for you. You shouldn't work for your business, right? There's so much crap that you have to deal with as an entrepreneur. Just things that you have to, because that's part of what it is. You're going to have to send invoices. You're going to have to put out fires. You're going to have to deal with clients who have unrealistic expectations, right? And one of the only things that you can control is your price point. And your price point has these ripple effects of you being able to say yes or no to other things, right? If you raise your rates, then you also raise the amount of time that you have to do things you love, right? Sure, yeah, I could work 20 hours at $10 an hour and make $200, or I could just charge $200 an hour, right? Then I have 9 hours free, right? So you start doing the math in that way and looking at all of these different pieces that it affects, and not only you, but then it also affects like my mentor would not have been able to subcontract me if she hadn't raised her rates to the point that she did, right? All of a sudden you raise your rates and you're able to help other people get their businesses started. You're able to invest in, other businesses that you see around you. You're able to buy gifts for your clients from small businesses and candle shops, right? All of these different things that you get to do, and you're kind of just happier, at the end of the day, right? That's what it is for me. That's why I'm so passionate about this idea of raise your rates, is because I truly, truly believe that money is emotional. And I truly, truly believe that that's what makes it scary. That's what makes it terrifying to like look someone in the face and be like, yeah, I charge X. And it also is what makes things feel a little lighter when you do kind of start hitting those like Netflix and luxury numbers, and you get to start making different choices.
Yeah,
I love it.
that's so true. You know, and I want to add a disclaimer here, you know, for a lot of people, like raising the rates does not mean you're like going from $15 an hour to $100 an hour. Sometimes it's you're going $15 an hour to $35 an hour, and then 35 to 55, and then 55, you know, and you're going to hit a point where you know you're in your market range, right? Where people are saying no to that price or they're saying yes, right? So Jules, you know, you don't have to disclose anything that you do, but when do you know that there's room for growth rather than maybe you've hit that sweet spot with that rate for your industry?
Yeah. I'm a big believer of, so yeah, market research is important and it does play a role, but I don't think it's as relevant to freelancers, especially like if you're doing like solopreneur stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's okay. I'm trying to like simplify it a little bit. I don't know. Do we have a time limit for this or?
No time limit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll keep it short, but what I'll say is this, is that you have to make your Netflix number in order for it to be worth it. Like there's just no, like, if you're going to be living like ramen noodle life, like unless you're super, super happy with maybe it's the freedom or the flexibility, or maybe that's just all you can do at that moment. I know I've had that point of like, this is all I can really make and I don't really have any more choices. So, but if you're living your ramen noodle number forever, like sometimes it's better to just switch to a different like lifestyle until you feel confident enough to get to your Netflix number, if that makes sense. So I think like your Netflix number to me is like the bare minimum number of like you need to be able to live a comfortable lifestyle with the amount of money you make. When do you know that you're, you know, maybe like the pond is too small? I got really good advice from somebody, and they said like 50% of sales calls should end in a no and 50% of sales calls should end in a yes. And if you kind of have that 50-50 balance, you're in a really good place and you know that you're making enough sales calls.
Okay.
That's
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting advice. On the other side though, I kind of believe that like, if you feel like a lot of people are saying no, sometimes it's not your price that needs to get lower. Sometimes it's just the strategy needs to change. You need to find a different pond, right? Like, I think that, like, people pay thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, sometimes millions of dollars for things that they value. And so it's just a matter of like, are you matching the thing that you're offering with the thing that they value, and does it work for all sides, right? So that goes more into like a pricing conversation. But I would say maybe there is a limit, maybe there is a ceiling at some point, but I don't think most people hit it. Like I think that you should just, even if it's $5, like keep raising your rates each time, and at least raise it to your Netflix rate.
I love it. I think that's so true, because like there are literally like millionaires and billionaires out there who are buying services that are probably not any better than what we do at ridiculous rates, because to them, why would they want to hire a $2,000 right logo when maybe they want to spend $1 million, right? To them, like that suddenly has all this value to it. So it really does depend on who your target audience is, what the services that you're providing, and what's that experience for people, right?
Yeah.
If it's a great experience or a great customer service experience, especially, then that value increases a lot more. Oh, Demi left a comment. She says, even now as a business owner, money scares me. I hate looking at my finances. Ugh. Demi, That is so relatable for a lot of people. And I'm just going to say, like, I have become a huge finance nerd over the past several years. And you cannot get me to stop looking at my finance. It doesn't mean it's like really good or really bad. It's just like when you are aware of where you're at and what you have in the bank, or you're aware of your spend. All right, Jules, we're going to get a whole other topic that I didn't even have listed that I think we do need to talk about.
Yeah, budgeting.
Budgeting. You and I are on the exact same page with all that stuff. Okay, I'm going to let you talk about that. Oh, yeah. Wait, we got a long comment. We got a long comment. Do you want me to share this one real quick?
Yeah.
Get into the budget. So, okay, this is taking up the whole screen, Dane. Okay, Dane Mason says, I worked for someone out of college making a little over minimum wage with a bachelor's. I was overworked for little pay, which made me tired and unhappy. I decided to quit and leave my comfort zone. The owner told me not to take less than 3 times what I was making an hour. He knew my worth, but never told me, never wanted to pay me that either. LOL. I'm scratching out that LOL and I'm putting a little mad face. So know your worth and raise it more. You know, they know you are worth it, but want you as cheap as they can get you. Okay, standing applause for that comment. Yes, Dane.
And especially in any sort of hardworking outdoor work. I know that too intimately. And I'm really proud of you for breaking free of that, because it puts you in such a cycle because you're so tired.
Yes.
I understand how
physically
tired,
exhausted.
And not only that, the mental toll that it puts on them, because they're figuring out numbers, they're figuring out these complex things constantly. And if they don't get it right, it's your butt. And commendable, because like you're the one moving the rocks, you're doing all that stuff. And then a lot of times they don't want to pay for the machinery to make their lives easier, because then they can't bid the jobs as high because it won't take as many hours.
Interesting.
So you're really destroying your body, and it's very commendable that you did that.
Christy says, yes, Dane. Yeah. We applaud Dane in that comment.
We do not give our laborers enough credit ever. And like, let's just take a moment of silence. Thank you for making things run even during the pandemic and being out there. And I'm sorry for every time that I get mad when something's not done very fast. Amen. I think. Sorry.
So Chris, which Dane, thank you for that. That was important. A very important comment to make. Christy says, what are the key factors in coming up with your rates? So you have the number that you need to actually profit, but did you have a specific percentage towards overhead, taxes, etc.? Do you have a go-to formula?
Oh,
yes, I can actually share. I don't know, maybe I can give this to you, Brittany. I can actually share like a spreadsheet that I use to kind of like figure out my business, like how I'm going to split up my money. So the number one thing I think you have to remember is taxes. And I like to oversave for taxes because taxes make me anxious.
Yes.
And so I like to save at least around 30% for taxes so that I know that I'm covered. But then I also work through with my CPA, like, what can I buy to try to like lower the taxes, or like, what do I need to do here to mitigate my tax burden? But so 30% for taxes. And then obviously, like, this is going to depend a lot on like what kind of business you run, but I think that it's really, really important as much as you can. And this kind of gets into budgeting. Fix your expenses in your business as much as you possibly can. Like if you work with contractors, try to pay them like a retainer fee that you pay at the beginning of the month versus, they track their hours and then you pay them at the end of the month, and it might be this, or it might be this, or it might be that. Like, I think that uncertainty makes it a lot harder to kind of run your business and understand what you need to charge in order to be able to like properly pay your people and properly pay yourself. So fix your expenses as much as possible. And then leave it about 10% of profits for just like reinvesting and growth in the business, and just having like a business, like kind of savings account that you can draw from when things are a little bit unexpected. That's that's like my formula. Obviously, it's very, very different depending on what kind of business that you run, but you want to make sure that, like, have you read the book Profit First? Brittany?
What's that? Say that again. I'm sorry, you cut out for a second.
You're fine. Have you read the book Profit First?
You know, I hate to say this, I've not, but I've read several other books that are based around the concept of profit first. So
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so you know what it is.
Yeah.
Basically, the rate that you charge should be enough to cover all of these, expenses and taxes and blah 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 that I just said, and also pay you the profit that you need to be at least at your Netflix number. So when you're calculating like how much do I want to make in a month, those are kind of the factors to consider, and then you take that, you take that monthly total and you divide it by the number of hours that you want to work, and that'll give you an hourly rate. And then you can start to price your packages based on that hourly rate. So kind of getting into budgeting, because the whole idea of Profit First is pay yourself enough money so that you can live a comfortable lifestyle. But if you don't know what that comfortable lifestyle costs because you don't have a budget, the math gets really tricky, right? Because you're just kind of guessing and you're just kind of going, I don't know, $5,000 seems like enough, $10,000, $2,000, whatever number kind of comes to mind seems like enough.
We have a couple of comments here real quick. I just want to share. Christy says, so much info, would love the spreadsheet. Josh Benson says, love this, absolute truth. Thank you guys so much for watching and commenting. But yes, the budgeting, this is so important because first of all, let's take a moment and acknowledge the fact that what it costs for me to live in Southern Illinois may be completely different what it costs you to live in Richmond, Virginia versus California, right?
Yes.
So perspective on that for a moment, but I'm going to let you get into this because it's my favorite.
Yeah. Yeah. I think budgeting it's the key for everybody, right? But when you're getting a regular income, right? When you're on a W-2, if you spend less than you make, you're kind of like, okay, right? Like you know what you're going to make every month, and so you're kind of like, this seems fine, right? As long as you're spending under that. When you're a freelancer, it might vary, right? You might not know how much you're going to make in a given month until like the middle of that month, or maybe even the third week of that month. And the reason that you need to know those three numbers, the ramen noodle number, the Netflix number, and the luxury number, is that you need to know where your money can go. And you can't know that unless you have a really good idea of what your budget is, right? So like your Netflix number, that's just like what you need to, like, you just need to make that, right? And you can't accept any jobs that are going to put you under that number, right? In a given month. If you're reaching your Netflix number, well, then all of a sudden you have more decisions to make with your money. Are you going to spend it? Are you going to save it? Are you going to invest it? Right. And then when you get to your luxury number, that's even more, right? Like with more money comes more choices, which is both the responsibility and the fun of it. Right.
Yeah.
So knowing exactly like, okay, I need minimum, and I'm just throwing out numbers, right?
Yeah.
I need a minimum $1,500 a month. I need to make this. Great. If you know you need to make $1,500 a month and you get to the middle of the month and you've only made $300, then you know that that's a month that you're going to have to like really get on it. But if you get to the middle of the month and you've made $1,200 or you've made $1,500 and now you're making extra, well, now you get to be a little bit more discerning about what kind of projects do I want to take on? Is this actually worth my time? Do I want to spend, 10 hours in a day talking to people and networking and really pushing myself? Or is this a day that I'm going to step back and take to myself because I've already reached that number, right? Hustle is important. Like I don't like hustle culture in that I don't think that you should hustle for no reason.
Yeah.
And I think that budgeting helps you, like, if you need to hustle, go out, hustle, do it, whatever, especially at the beginning of a business, that's normal.
Yeah.
But if you're just like hustling towards this like random number, right, that's not actually making a difference in your life, then you might be trading things like time with yourself, time with your family, peace of mind, which it's not, in my opinion, it's not really worth it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So true, because when you have your budget tight, when you know exactly what's a yes and a no to things that take away your money equals your time, and your freedom completely changes, right? And I think there's this mindset. I've encountered people where it's like, I'm like, oh, I say no to stuff, and I'm very honest about it. I'm like, no, that's not a priority for me. That's not in my budget. And I've had people like, oh, you're budgeting? Like, I'm poor. And like, yes, because I have goals, and because of those goals, going and doing this is not a part of that goal. And I'm sorry if it might seem like it's at the expense of, a social interaction, but I've learned that you can turn those things around where it's like, oh, if you want to spend time with me, let's go walk at the park, let's go hiking, let's go do the things that are free,
and
right,
that are enriching, honestly.
Yes.
Like, brunch is gonna taste the same way. It's literally steak and eggs all the time. It is all the time. We have to stop this. Please.
It's fun if it's in your budget, right? And that's the thing, is everyone's budgets are different and everyone's priorities are different. So as long as you're making those choices that are sustainable and that bring you joy, then you're fine. Like, to us, we're not really brunch girls. We'll make our own food together, we'll like cook at home. But, to someone else, that may be a priority. So maybe they have the brunch, right? So I assume you have.
I attack you. I am so sorry.
No, you're totally fine. You're totally fine.
When we meet, I will make you some fish tacos that will blow your mind, and you're gonna be like, "Why was I ever spending that much on anything else?"
See, you can cook, and I know that the answer is I can learn how to cook. But for me, the experience of eating out is part of like what makes working worth it. Yeah, but it's exactly that. Is like, is it in your budget? Do you know, like, before I started budgeting and before I really took control of my money and raised my rates, if I ate out in a month, it was kind of like, okay, am I making a decision between like eating this burger or paying my rent? And like, you know what I mean? It was such a like nerve-wracking decision because I had no idea how much I was going to make or how much I needed or like what was happening in any given moment.
Yeah.
It was kind of just like a put it on the credit card and hope for the best situation. Which is not where I want anyone to be. I want everyone to be like confidently like, yes, I can have this brunch, or confidently like, no, no, this brunch is not on my list. Like, just knowing what's important to you, what you value, and that you can have it it just makes life so much easier.
It's hard to eat a burger on a ramen noodle number.
Exactly.
Okay, do you listen to Paula Pant by chance?
No.
Okay, she has a podcast called Afford Anything. You need to follow her on Instagram. She's amazing. Okay. You love her. Totally love her. So her philosophy is you can afford anything, you just can't afford everything, right?
Yes.
And that's the whole thing is, so like for me, there's certain things that I feel are frivolous, but for someone else, they're going to cut other things that I feel is important so they can have that thing that's important to them. So, I do want to add that disclaimer, anyone who's watching, is we all have our own interests and our own passions. And as long as you are setting yourself up for success and you are able to enjoy those things without hurting your living costs, without, digging into having stable living and transportation if needed or food, that's what's important. Your 4 walls, that's like what Dave Ramsey says. Like, if you can take care of those main things, those extra things, you get to pick and choose what's important to you.
Yes.
Maybe you want a really flashy car, so you budget in that amount for that car, but you're probably not going to get to go to Europe, right? So it's all those different things. And we got another comment here. Christy, she says, you have to leave room for the good stuff you love doing and the big clients. Hustling just to put small amounts of money in the account is taking the space for the real stuff you love. Amen. Amen, Christy. Yes. That's so true. And it's not about being money hungry, right? It's about there's certain types of people you need to attract in your business who's going to value those services or products if you're a product-based business and wants to put their money towards that, right? It's about what you were talking about earlier about that value and that sort of thing meeting with that.
Real quick story about finding the right clients.
Yes, please.
Oh my gosh, I just remembered, like, this memory came out of nowhere. There was a moment where I was raising my rates like really rapidly, like in a way that was like a little bit like jolting. And I was trying to do like the thing where you like keep working with some clients and then like move them along, blah, 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 just for context. But I had like the last week I had said like, hey, this is my new rate to someone. And they were like, that's absurd. Like they threw a fit. Yeah. They were like, that's absurd. That's not what you were charging like 3 months ago, blah, 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 blah. Like, just like, right. And I hopped onto like a sales call the week after and I was feeling so defeated. And so like, oh my gosh, like if somebody who knows my work and knows me doesn't want to pay me this, how is this new person going to do it? And I got on the call and we did do the whole call. And then they were like, okay, what's your rate? And I said my rate and he like kind of laughed, like in like, not in a mean way, but he was like, oh, okay, yeah, great. like he had thought that I was going to quote him a number that was so much exponentially higher than what I said to him, that to him, he was like, damn, like I got a bargain, like, like I got a deal. And so
like, just on second thought.
Yeah, right. I was like, oh no, let me add an extra 0 actually. Typo. Yeah, but just that just goes to show, right? Like your rate is going to be too high for some, like way too high for some people, and it's going to be very reasonable for other people. Yeah. So it's not only like, can you show your value and do you know your stuff, but it's also, are you speaking to the right people when you're doing it?
That's exactly it. It's, if I put out a price out there and another person turns me down, like I'm at the point where it doesn't hurt my feelings at all, right? Yeah. It's like, that's great. We're not in alignment, and that's totally fine. Like it doesn't say anything about you. It doesn't say anything about me. It's just, we're in different spots and we're not in alignment, and that's okay. And when you start though, here's the, no one tells you this when you start, is how personal it is.
Yes.
And when they say no, then it becomes an identity crisis almost, right?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's really hard. It's like before when we were talking about my $5 dreams and that got crushed really quickly.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, not my
tell the story about what happened before this.
That was like before I heard the ramen noodle thing, though.
Okay.
And now I'm thinking I need my Kardashian dreams.
Okay.
Because I needed like lip fillers.
Okay. Context.
Yesterday.
We were talking about that pre-show. So anyone who's watching doesn't know what we're talking about right now. So we don't have to give a whole lot because that's still in the works. But...
Yeah. So, but just like, this isn't giving anything away.
No.
It's just giving you something to look forward to. I'm working on something really, really cool that I really love, and it's like bringing me life because it like literally touches to my strengths. And anyway, Bernie was like, how much do you think that we should charge, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, I was just thinking like $5. And Bernie was like, what? Because I've been working on this for like weeks.
Y'all, there's going to be a lot of value to this. Is all I'm saying. I'm sorry, it's not going to be $5. So I'm just going to add that. It's not going to be $5.
This is not.
It's not going to break your bank, but it's not going to be $5. But all of that, to say, like, when you are creating something, right? Like, your perception of the value can be totally different than someone else's.
I was just like, I'm just a little old lady doing my $5. $5. So, like, I don't understand. Because, like, I probably wouldn't trust something that's $5 that's not, like, a snack. Once I really think about it, since we were talking.
Yes.
I probably wouldn't want, like, something for $5.
Don't buy something that's going to be a Happy Meal price, okay? Chris,
Happy Meals are
I'm loving everyone who's watching it right now. Chrissy saying Kardashian dreams have died, and then Dane just commented, I want it for $5.
Special discount.
All right, Dane.
We can't do this on air. She's right next to me.
Oh my gosh. And Christy said me too. Okay, we're shutting that down, y'all. Okay. But all that to say, this has been so much fun tonight. I feel like I don't even know what did we drink? We just drank water before we got here.
I'm so hydrated right now.
See what happens, Jules?
I'm glowing.
She's glowing. Jules, this is what happens when you start talking about money, right? Like, it's the possibilities are endless, right? Yeah. And you get to create for yourself the future you want to have. And it is so important. Oh, Dane said, know your worth, Casey, at least 15. Thank you, Dane. Thank you for that. But you get to define that for yourself. And Jules, I absolutely love that about you is you show up and you're like, you know what, this is the life I want to live. And you're creating it for yourself. And it's inspiring to so many people. And it's seriously important. Like the conversations you have, like I have those, I've always had that, like with a very small group of people, because not everybody wants to talk about money, right?
It's embarrassing.
A lot of people don't want to talk about finances.
It gets really embarrassing, and it makes you feel kind of like this is going to be like fuel for gossip or something, which, you know what I mean? It makes you feel like, oh, people are going to be like, oh, Casey had a ramen noodle $5 idea. and now she's doing her lip filler idea. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, but really it doesn't affect anything. It doesn't really matter.
The more we talk openly about money, the more we all progress, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Another thing I'm going to talk about, Jules, you got to shut us down. We are like on a roll tonight. This is almost like money therapy. So, okay. It's, you get that amount that someone sets for you, right? And then you're like, where you want to go, but there's no way to get there because that's what someone's determining for you. Yeah. But not only that, no one's talking about how much they're getting paid, right? And so you have this cone of silence. Okay, I have a real story I am going to share, okay? And when I was in college, I had a graphic design job. I was working for a local newspaper.
I love this story.
I was making, oh gosh, not that much, but it felt like a lot, right, at the time.
It was like 2000.
Don't age me. It was a while back, all right? I'm a little older than y'all.
Post Neopet days, pre-Facebook.
Okay, so this is why we have to have our separate squares, Jules. This is insane, okay? We should not be in the same space together. So I had this job, not making a whole lot, but I was like, okay, it's good. It's a good job while I'm in college. Was almost done getting my degree. And they just hired this young man who was in high school. Okay, great. Absolutely adored him. We had so much fun working together. And then one night we all just started talking about how much we made, right? And one guy, he goes, oh, I asked for a raise yesterday. And we're like, you did? Like, you can do that? He goes, yeah, I went and asked for a raise and I got it. I was like, wow. And this guy goes, oh, he goes, how much do you get paid? And then he said, and then this young man said, and he was making 50 cents more than me. I had been working there for almost 2 years by that point.
And busting her butt.
Was in college almost with my degree.
Like missing holidays, busting your butt.
Working so hard. And this young man who just started was automatically making 50 cents more than me. And then this guy's like, well, yeah, Brittany, you need to go ask for a raise. And they're like, I was so thankful for them in that moment because they were like, do it. They were like, you're getting paid what? And they're like, you go in there and you ask for a raise. So I did. I went straight to the publisher. I walked straight to his office. Oh, but guys, you aren't going to like this. I walked in and I said, I believe it's time that I get a raise. And he goes, oh. And I said, yes. I said, I've been here for this amount. I said, I do the majority of the workload. There's rarely a mistake when I do it. And went down the line of all the reasons why I deserved a raise, which were all very valid. And he says, oh, well, thank you so much for coming in and talking. But we're not giving raises. And in that moment, I had my first real life experience of sexism in the workplace. Oh. Because we started speaking up to each other, and every man was getting paid more and every woman was getting paid less. And every woman who asked for a raise was denied one. That I did not understand my rights in the workplace then. I would do it a lot differently now. And so I quit. Yeah. And you know what they said? They go, oh, but Brittany, we really need you. Will you at least come in maybe a couple nights a week? And I said, are you going to give me a raise? They said, well, no. And I said, then no, I'm not. I'm done. Thank you. And I wish it had a better ending. But in that moment, I realized there is true divide, right? Mm-hmm. True divide. And when people do not speak up and they do not have these conversations and they do not empower each other, Jules, your success is my success. Yes. When you are doing well and you're at a point where you're like, whew, you know what? I can't take on this other client. I need to reach out to my network. Yeah. And you're able to pass on to me, or I'm like, whew, I got too much on my plate, or here's an awesome copywriting opportunity. And I reach out to you. That is how we grow. And our communities deserve people who are paid well and who are thriving, because we have more income to spend on these other businesses and in just making our place better.
Only, so I used to work for a data tech company that it was all about we built these rubrics, and then it was specifically for med students. Mm-hmm. So what would happen was that every time a med student made a mistake, you would log it. And then they would also log things like, are you hydrated? How much water have you drank today? How much sleep did you get last night? Where do you live? You know what I mean? What's the zip code? Mm-hmm. And it was nuts how most of the misdiagnoses that are detrimental to your health are made when people simply just didn't sleep well. That is such a clear divide, I think, in the way that we pay people. And just how comfortable is your bed? How comfortable is your bed? How good is your neighborhood? You know what I mean? How well did you sleep last night? Because honestly, whatever you're looking at depends on that, doc.
Oh my gosh. Please be well rested before my surgery.
Honestly, so many misdiagnoses literally happen because I didn't sleep well last night. And you think about that, whenever I'm driving on the road, I get I'm sometimes getting dark. I'm driving on the road, just jamming out to catch up, and then I'll be like, oh my gosh, that person just made a mistake in front of me. And then I think I wonder how much sleep they got last night. I wonder what neighborhood they live in. I wonder if they ate this morning. I wonder if they had time to eat this morning.
Oh my gosh, that tech job really.
Honestly, I wonder if you were going to punch in a rubric, how ready are you to drive that car? How ready are you to deliver my packages? If you were to punch in, you know, like how much of your life is that like Netflix number living to where you did wind down from yesterday and you can start fresh today and you can leave all that stuff behind you, you know, like, did you have like a self-care masking moment? Can you afford that?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. It's
your community will thrive if you pay people well, and if you decide that you need to be paid well. The whole community is affected by that net.
Yeah, exactly. You can give better work. You can do better work for yourself, for your clients, for your community, if you raise your rates.
That's the ultimate thing. Mom, she goes, y'all are hilarious tonight. Mom, we've only drank water, I promise. And Christy, I think she's talking back to my Ray's story, says, oh, heck no. Oh, heck yes. But I quit. So, you know, when you, and actually, I'm just going to say this for anyone who's watching, right? Like, I'm sure I have people that watch who aren't entrepreneurs or who may have dreams of becoming entrepreneurs, but it is on us to decide our value. And there will always be people who want you to feel smaller, who want you to feel less of the less than the ramen noodle. I can't even talk, ramen noodle number. And you have to decide, I'm the lip filler number or the Netflix number or whatever that may be for you. That's our decision, right? Yeah. We get to decide that for ourselves. Now, there's a lot of factors to getting that amount that you want, but I think it takes a moment. I just want everyone to take a moment right now and tell themselves that they are worth whatever that amount is to them. Yeah. Because I believe you are. You have to believe you are.
Yes. And so often,
oh, sorry. I was going to say, Chrissy said we are turning that ramen into pho. Yes. Yes. I love that. Chrissy, you are on a roll tonight. I love this so much. Sorry. What? Oh, Dane, he's given us some clappy 100 and hearts. Yes. So Jules, I'm sorry, Jules, I interrupted you, but
you're fine. No, I think I was going to say something about like the idea of worth and the idea of like, I think a lot of times people just aren't charging what they're worth. But then I was going to say the second thing is like, I always say like, don't ask if, ask how, right? Like, don't ask oh, like, would I be able to charge that much? Like that's an if question, right? Mm-hmm. How question is like, how can I charge this much? Yeah. How can I refine my packages? How can I upskill? How can I present myself to be able to charge this much? And sometimes it's as small as just like reaching out to the right person. You know, it's as small as like getting your friend to like review what you did and getting some feedback on it, right? Like sometimes it's that, and it's not always even like my friend like, you know, caught all of my typos kind of thing, but it's like, oh, my friend gave me the okay that this is good and I trust them, and because I trust them now I have more confidence in myself and I'm going to raise my rate, right? Like so always ask how, like, how can I get to that number? Because the if, like, yes, it's like the answer of like, can I do this? Yes, you can. Absolutely. It's just a matter of how.
Amen. Okay. I think that's the best way to end on this.
That was great.
I think you took us to church tonight. So I loved it. This has been a fantastic conversation. I think we've definitely had a lot of people that resonated with this conversation. And I know this live stream is watched quite a bit after the fact. So if anyone didn't catch it tonight, you know, and you did watch it, you're watching the replay, definitely throw a comment in here. Let us know your thoughts. We want to hear it. So Jules, I want you to tell people how they can work with you, because I know you have your own services, you have your own business. So I want you to take a moment to tell people how they can work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have done for you services, which is copywriting, PR, and social media strategy. But I also just hang out on Instagram, and I'm at Jules on Tap is my Instagram handle. And if anybody wants to reach out for the templates or just to ask questions about like budgeting, raising your rates, pricing, all of that good stuff, I'm always available to chat.
Awesome. Well, we really appreciate your time. I know we kept you really late because you're on the East Coast. So thank you so much. And I'll be popping up on your Instagram and cheering you on, Jules, because I absolutely love everything you stand for and everything you do. You are a very positive light in the online space, and it's important. So
thank you so much for having me, Brittany.
Thank you so much.
Well. Nice meeting you too.
Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.